Welcome to Afterlife Cafe TV, connecting hearts, healing souls, and bridging worlds. I'm your host, Helen Peacock, and this is your sacred grounds, a warm, welcoming space where you're invited to take a seat, exhale, and just be. Each week, we will gather cafe style for heartfelt conversations, some mediumship, and maybe some intuitive insights, and soulful storytelling that explore the afterlife, some healing, grieving, and the unbreakable bond between us and those in spirit. Here, laughter and tears are both welcome. Love transcends time, and spirit meets us in the most human of ways. So if you're seeking comfort, connection, or a deeper trust in your own inner knowing, you're in the right place. So pour yourself something warm and let's begin. Welcome, beautiful souls. And if you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. And I'm very happy about my next guest. She's actually a returning guest, but from my other platform, Spirit Chat. So this is her first time here on the Afterlife Cafe TV. And so I just want to welcome Gabby. Welcome back. And it's always such a pleasure having you here because, you've spent countless hours beside people in their final days and witnessing moments that most of us will never experience. For most of us, hopefully. And today I'd love to explore some of the most remarkable stories and what they've taught you about life and death and everything in between. So, welcome, Gabby.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for having me back on this new platform. I'm excited for you.
I'm excited for us.
I'm
'Cause-
excited for us too.
Okay. So, just to start off, like as we're saying about at the beginning, is if you want to just kind of just do a little bit brief on what first drew you to the hospice care and how's that journey changed you as a person? Just so my viewers, especially for the first time here on Afterlife Cafe, just so they can get a little feel of who you are.
All right, the short version is that this was never even in my line of sight. This was not something I thought I would do. I ended up helping care for a friend of mine who was dying, and it was while I was at his bedside, witnessing his decline and watching the caregivers and the hospice team support him. I thought this is something I need to do. And I was 40 years old. So this was very new. And I
Mm-hmm.
went back to school to become a hospice nurse specifically. I've added to that as a end of life doula. I am working currently as a pediatric palliative care nurse. I have witnessed over 2,000 last breaths, and I have been at a lot of bedsides.
Mm,
And I've seen a lot of death. I've seen a lot of goodbyes, but I've also seen a lot of love.
mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And if you know what I mean by that, it's
Yes.
beautiful. It is. And, we're very lucky to have someone like you who also teaches us to help prepare people who are who are searching out in the field that you're in right now. And like over the years, have you witnessed some incredible moments where there are experiences that continue to stay with you? Like I know you're really good with your stories that is there anyone how about any stories that have given you goosebumps today?
Wow, so many. A lot of them are around the visions that people see when they're at the end of their life. And I truly believe that when someone is dying, there is this amazing sense of awareness they have, right? They
Mm-hmm.
know who's in the room, they feel the energy and whatnot. But I also think they are gifted a view of things that we don't see. And it might be people that are from their past that have died. It might be animals. It might be strangers who, for whatever reason, come to them. And people, what I have witnessed is sort of a reaching. I often think that maybe they're reaching for a hand that is extended, saying, "Hey, I've got you. You're not doing this alone." It might be staring off into the corner, and that always tells me that they're seeing something that we don't see. sometimes their eyes get really dark and super glossy, and they look through you as though they see things way beyond you that you can't possibly know is there. So I do believe that they are gifted this amazing sense of witnessing something else that is beyond perhaps this life, their life. I have a lot of stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think because I know people will really relate to this, people who love their animals often more than they love humans. And when our pets die, it's heartbreaking. I just had a woman reach out to me recently who said, Gabby, my dog just died and I don't know what to do. Like, people don't understand how hard this is for me. Oh, I understand. I mean, I'm never going to tell someone I know how they feel because I don't know how they feel. But I
Mm-hmm.
do know what it feels like to lose your pet. My dog Jack died 10 years ago, and I'm still sad about it. So one day I was with a gentleman. He was nearing the end of his life, and he was lying in his bed. I came in his room, and he said, Gabby, come here. And he brings me closer, and he goes, my dogs have been jumping on the bed and laying down with me. And I said, I didn't even know you had any dogs. And he goes, no, they're dogs that I've had years before who have died. And he pets the side of the bed as if to pet them there now. And I said, are they with you now? And he said, yes. And that just touched me, right? Like, I hope
Mm-hmm.
that happens for me. But he said, does this mean I'm dying? And I looked at him in the most compassionate way and I said, you are dying. And he said, am I dying soon? And I said, yes, I think so. And then a day or two later, I came back to see him, to check in on him. And I looked at him and I could tell he was so close. And he was struggling with talking and getting words. His body was letting go. And I said, are the dogs with you? And he reaches over with a very weak hand and puts it down on the dogs. And he said, yes. And I said, okay, so you're not doing this alone. And he said, no. And he died about 3 hours later. And and people can think whatever they want to think, but as many bedsides as I've sat with and as many things that I have witnessed, all I can say is that it is absolutely 100% true. And who are we to tell them they don't see them? I think the hardest and maybe most unkind thing we could do is try to correct them. How about if we just say, who is it? And make sure that they're not afraid, right? I want to remove
Mm-hmm.
fear and just say, it's okay, tell me about them. I always want to know, what are they wearing, what are they saying, how do you feel good that they're there, does that bring you comfort? And one more story, it's one of my favorites and I have shared this a lot before, but this is actually powerful in many ways. I had a woman many years ago who was a pretty well known jazz musician, and that was her music of choice. She played it in the house all the time. She always had jazz around her, which was really nice. Now her husband was not the same way. He had music tastes that aligned with mine. And so, there were times where he'd say, yeah, I just don't play my music now because she doesn't like it. And I'm like, okay. Well, anyway, one day, her husband called me and said, Gabby, we'll call her Linda. Linda needs to talk to you. Is there any chance you can come over today? And I said, yes, actually, I was planning to. So, yes, I'll be there shortly. I got there and she asked me to come in the room and she was sort of in a panic. And she said, there's somebody that keeps playing music at my bedside. He's like at the end of the foot of my bed and he's playing music and I don't like it. I don't know what to do about it. And I said, well, what kind of music is he playing? And she said, well, it's hippie music and I don't like it. And he doesn't smell good. Like, she could smell him. She described him perfectly as this older gentleman with white, really kind of messy, thick hair and a beard and sunglasses, even in the daylight, and he had hippie clothes on and this long scarf thing hanging from his guitar, and he just kept singing these sort of hippie sounds, and I immediately assumed it was Jerry Garcia. So I took up some photos that I had and I showed them to her. I said, is this the gentleman that's been sitting with you? She goes, yes, that's him. Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead.
Oh,
So
wow.
Do we know if that is true? Who knows? It's not for me to judge, but I needed to continue this with her. And she
Mm-hmm.
goes, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I'm actually a Grateful Dead fan, so I would love that. And
That
I
makes
jokingly,
sense.
right? And I jokingly said, well, have him come to my house and maybe he could bring Tom Petty with him too. That would be fantastic, right? And she goes, I don't want him here. And she goes, of course, my husband's happy because she loves his music, but he can't see him. He can't hear him. And she goes, why is he here? Why won't he leave? And I had to think about that for a minute. And I thought, maybe he wants you to open up to your husband's choice of music. Maybe
Mm.
he was hoping that you would let your husband play something that matters to him, that maybe you could meet him in the middle, even though you only have probably a few days left. We don't know that for sure. Maybe this is something that you can share together, and
Hmm.
maybe he wants to encourage that. And she said, like, she just sort of made this eye rolling facial expression, and she was like, I don't want to do that. And I said, but maybe you could. Maybe you'd find something that would surprise you. I said, I love their music and it brings me peace and it makes me happy and it kind of lifts my spirit. And again, I would very much be okay with him coming to play music at my foot of my bed. So we could always send him over there. She goes, well, what do I do? And I said, well, what if you just honor it for a bit? Why don't you ask your husband to come in, play some of Jerry Garcia's music, have that time together? It would make your husband so happy.
Mm.
And then when you're done, maybe ask Jerry to leave. And she said, okay. Well, that night, her husband and her listened to Grateful Dead, like old school Grateful Dead, and some of the newer stuff at the time. And although he had died several years before, but they listened, and she actually found herself kind of tapping her foot and really understood the draw. But more than that, it created stories and conversations for them. So she asked him, like, why do you like it so much? Share me some of your experiences. What were his concerts like? And so they had that conversation. And then the next morning, he was there again. And she said, thank you for coming, but I don't need you anymore. And she said he left.
That is so beautiful.
It
I
was
l-
really
I love
beautiful.
that. But I love how you like it made sense. At first I was going to say maybe he only showed up because for you, like it was a gift for you since you were a fan and it could be both.
That would have
It
been nice.
it could have been both, right? But I love how you turned it around. It's like do you sense into did you do you think you sense that intuitively to say those words because I love how you turned it around to make it so that it would great give him great comfort.
Yeah, I think
Her husband.
Yes, I think that for me, it was knowing that there was other disconnects between the two of
Hmm.
them, and how can I bring them together in these
Yeah.
last hours? And she died a few days later, so she actually died sooner than I thought she was going to. But there was this connection that happened with them that might not have happened otherwise. And did I initiate that? Maybe just the energy, whatever, the
Hmm.
universe, whomever, maybe they felt that it was needed. I don't know why I was so compelled to think that that was why Jerry Garcia was there,
Yeah.
but I used that opportunity to bring them closer and it worked.
And it
They had
worked.
a
Yeah.
moment they never would have had before.
You know what's ironic is how this is all based around music. And I just spent the morning writing up a news for my upcoming newsletter all around music. And here we are, it's in this show. So it's kind of like confirmation in a
Music
way.
is everything. And for
Oh,
me, I was
it
born in the
is.
60s. So,
Yeah.
every genre of music, every decade is like a diary of my life. I
Hmm.
I have a 12-hour playlist, which includes Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, and of course Tom Petty. But music is my story.
Hmm. Yeah.
I want it at my bedside.
I had a friend of mine who's in spirit, and we're talking maybe 12, 13 years ago. And she was so right into music. Like, even there's music that plays that reminds me of her. And before she transitioned, she went into hospice and she ended up pulling out she wore a trach. So she ended up pulling out the trach and she just decided that she just didn't want to speak. She just
That was just her way. She just, to this day, I'm not even 100% sure why she did that. I'm not 100% sure. And so the biggest memory that I have with her back then, it was like a little, what do you call it? iPod. It was just a little iPod with a playlist. And you could just see her. She was just smiling. She was in her own world. And there was one song that really stuck out and reminds me um, a conversation that we had in my car. And she says, I'm going to give this sign to Jim, which was her ex-husband at the time, and he'll know that it's me. And it's called Spirit in the Sky. So
I
now
love
every
that
time
song.
I hear that song, and I'm getting goosebumps right now, every time I hear Spirit in the Sky, I'm just like, oh, Mo's around. But still, if for her, that was her comforting, was listening to probably, like you said, like maybe a playlist that had about 2,000 songs. But yeah, like we mentioned, that music is just so comforting, especially when we are exiting. And it's nice to know that you can leave those songs behind. And even my client yesterday, oh my goodness, um same thing. First thing, his father came through. His father was a musician. The first thing he showed me was a guitar case with all these stickers all over it, because wherever he traveled with his guitar, he collected stickers like right out of the
Oh,
gate,
wow.
right? And my client, it was his dad I was connecting with, but my client was even a musician as well. So there was a lot of stories. What's this all about with music?
See, I think music is everywhere. I've even just started doing sound healing. And
Oh,
so I
crystal
do the,
bowls.
well, I don't use the crystal bowls, I use the
Okay.
Tibetan bowls, but I've also
Ooh.
brought in about six other different instruments. And I'm playing them for people who are at the end of their life, both
Oh,
adults and children, but also the families and loved ones who are grieving for them. And I am watching the power of sound, and it is so incredibly beautiful, and the way vibrations move through our body in different ways. I feel that same way when a certain song comes on, and I'm often
mm,
taken back. I'm often like it almost removes any negative things I've been thinking because it changes my mood. It makes me
mm-hmm.
feel happy. Music connects to everything, our life, our death, our grief, our
Totally
play,
agree. Yeah.
our child side of us. Like music is, for me, it's everything.
Yeah. And it's all based around a frequency too. And then I say that with my clients, the same thing. When you want to have that connection with your loved ones in spirit, play the music. It's going to lift your spirit. There is also a frequency to it as well, depending on the music you're listening to, right? So it's depending. So again, I love this theme, how it just kind of rolled into it. We didn't even plan to bring
I
this
love
in.
when things, I when I'm with parents who are saying goodbye to their children, which of course is difficult, right?
Oh,
One
yeah.
of the they'll say, "What can I do?" And one of the questions I'll say is, "What do you do when you try to help them go to sleep, or when they've got a skin knee, or
You
when
say,
they're sad or scared? Do you sing to them?" And they'll say, "Yes." I said, "Then sing to them.
mm,
Go to that place of love, because that's what it's about, right?
mm-hmm.
What makes us feel safe, what makes us feel held, and music does that, whether
Mm-hmm.
we're living, whether we're dying, whether we're grieving. Music is everywhere, and it comforts us.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
powerful. It
Mm-hmm.
also brings back memories.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were saying about your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Music, sound can connect us with places we maybe had put on hold for a little bit, people that
Yeah.
we hadn't thought about in a while.
And I do know that spirit, our loved ones, they use music to try to get our attention, to send those hellos, or there might be a special lyric in the song that they're trying to get a message across.
Yes.
So here we are, on one side of the veil and the other side of the veil. And so here's a question for you. um, and hopefully this will bring some comfort, is, there are some people who, some of my clients, they'll say, well, were they scared if they passed, like if they weren't in hospice or they were by themselves? Do you sense that they're not alone? Like, even if they're not in hospice, do you sense the loved ones come to them? Because I'll have clients that will say, well, was she afraid? Was she alone? Right? It's like, can you expand on that?
Yeah, I'm not going to romanticize this
Mm-hmm.
because I do think people have fear. And
Yeah.
I do think people feel alone, and I do think they're scared. I
Hmm.
don't think they're in physical pain when they take their last breaths. I truly believe pain leaves. But do I think that all people see someone? No.
Okay.
And I think that, we could want that and wish for that, but will it happen for sure? No.
Hmm.
I don't think it happens to every person.
Yeah.
And it might be because there's a part of them that is blocked and won't
Yep.
allow that in. I think it depends on how open you are. But there is definitely, from the people I have heard from who have seen someone come to them who has died, there is an extreme amount of comfort and peace that that brings. It is very comforting,
Hmm.
but it doesn't always happen.
No. And again, it depends on how they're passing too,
Yeah.
right? Because obviously that's not the case if it's tragic, if they pass away suddenly. So obviously that's not the case in that. Because that's one of the questions I get a lot from my clients is that. Um, but I do sense that even if it's not a loved one, there is the angelic realm as well. That's just my opinion on that. Um, so without revealing any confidential details, can you share one experience that completely changed the way that you understand the dying process?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one to even answer.
Okay.
I would say that collectively, all of the deaths that I have witnessed, all of the last breaths that I have watched be taken, have taught me that, well, death is inevitable, right? We are all
Mm-hmm.
going to die. And like I just said earlier, I do believe that pain, physical pain, leaves.
Okay, that's good to
So
know.
maybe when they're
Mm-hmm.
dying, there won't be that
Yeah.
physical pain. There is a moment of peace that I do believe they experience. I think that there are some people that are ready, some people that have made peace with their death, some people who do not want to go yet and who are holding on to life. That makes it harder. And death is, it's just part of
Mm-hmm.
life. And when we lean into it, I think it's softer. When
Mm-hmm.
we fight it, it's bumpy.
It's bumpy,
And
yeah.
I think the best thing that we can do for ourselves or someone we love when they're dying is just not stop talking to them because they can hear you.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Be
I'm
at
so
their
happy you said
bedside,
that.
right? Like just keep talking to them, sing to them, read them a story, read them a poem, tell them about your day, because there's something powerful in our voice that connects to another human being, whether you know them or not, whether you have history with them, whether they're family or friend, a neighbor, or maybe it's a patient or someone you just happened to walk beside and saw that they could benefit from your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Your presence is a gift, and your touch and your voice, that can ease comfort. That could be the difference between pain and peaceful. That could be what allows them to let go and have a softer landing. So I think what we have to do is trust our voice and know that they hear us. And
Yes.
the awareness is heightened at the end of life, and they know you're there, which is something we need to be mindful of as
Mm-hmm.
well, because they know when you bring other stuff in, the drama, the chaos, the negative energy, like leave that at the door.
Yeah.
Don't bring that in. No one
Yeah.
needs that. So I think,
We mentioned that in our last show several
yeah, I
months
think
ago.
that's
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
so important. And death teaches us the gift of life,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes.
also how precious and fragile it is.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. So after witnessing so many final chapters, what has hospice taught you about living in a meaningful life today for you?
To let stuff go.
Mm. How did I know you're going to say that?
Man, I've spent my whole life holding on to stuff that was not
Mm,
serving me good. I don't want to die with regret. And I've seen too many people die with regret.
yeah.
And I'm not going to do it. So I have been letting things go. I've made peace with the past. I'm not going to feel guilty for what I say or what I do. I'm going to be completely authentically myself so
Yeah.
that when I die, I can do it with a sense of peace in my heart and my soul that says, you did the best you could and you lived your life
You
well.
lived
I
your
want to
life.
live
Yep.
my life well.
Hmm. That sounds like something that our viewers could probably relate to. And I think that's a great message. what you just shared there. So I want to thank you for that because,
Welcome.
you know, for those who've cared for their, for their final days, what would it be? And you just answered that. That was going to be my next question, you know?
I think that we have to savor life with childlike enthusiasm because
Yeah.
this is all we get. I mean, in this mindset. And and I don't want to miss anything, and I don't want to live life on someone else's terms.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to take care of me, and I'm going to savor every little minute that I'm gifted.
Well, I just think you just gave a great message on that. I really do. And you teach this as well, don't you? You teach it and you have courses on your website. Yes.
I have classes, I have books, there's a bunch of podcasts on there, yours included. All about it. All of what I do is to give people resources
Hmm.
and information that can help them to do not just life better, but death better and grief
Yes.
better and to human better. Like to just
Oh, I like that. To
right?
human
Like
better.
just
Yes.
human better.
Yeah. Yes.
That would be my goal, my mission.
And for my viewers and listeners, can you tell us where they can contact you?
Everything is on my website, which is thehospiceheart.net. There's even a link to the Hospice Heart Facebook page, which has a
Yeah.
huge community.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and
quite a,
you write beautifully, I have to say. You
thank
do.
you.
If you haven't noticed, I share and post on my
I
on
love
my
that.
Facebook page, but well, because we're kind of in the same business,
Yes.
right? So I just for my viewers, listeners, please go to Gabby's, and I love the name Hospice Heart. And just read her blogs. She has amazing, amazing letters, even just even your memes itself. So, and I just found you on Instagram. Are you
Yes.
new on Instagram?
Well, I'm not the Hospice Heart on Instagram. I just go
That's
there because,
why.
all the cool kids hang out there, but I I don't do as much there. Really, for me it's the Hospice Heart Facebook
Well,
page.
I'm happy I found you because I'm like, oh, I'm going to share. I didn't know this was here. I'm going to
Thank
share,
you.
share, share, right?
I
Especially
love
on my
that.
mediumship page because there's a lot of people on my personal Facebook page, but there's people that don't know about my mediumship Facebook page.
Ah,
So I love that I can share that as well. So I do have to say, I told you 30 minutes flies.
oh, it goes so fast.
I do have to say, I love having you. You inspire me that I may end up doing this as a volunteer, as working in hospice. That is still on my back burner,
I
right?
love
I,
hospice volunteers.
yeah. So, and there's a huge need for it,
Yeah,
a huge calling, even for more hospices, never mind just the volunteers.
definitely.
So I always say if I come into big money, it's what I'm going to do, make that my because I'm a firm believer about the end of life, how people are treated, how they're being taken care of,
Yes.
and especially for the family, not just those who are getting ready to transition, but it's also all about the family as well. So I could go on and yap, 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 yap.
Oh, me
But
too.
oh, Gabby, I love you. I just love
Oh,
you.
thank
Love
you.
your
I love you
energy.
too.
Yes. So I want to thank you for coming back. I'll
My
always have you
pleasure.
back, maybe another year from now.
I'm ready.
Just wish you well. And hopefully my viewers and my listeners enjoyed this show as much as I did in having you in Beautiful Woman in Pink. I love you in the pink.
Thank you.
All right. So, for all my viewers and listeners out there in the Afterlife Cafe TV land, thank you so much for joining us. I really hope you enjoyed this show and I hope you were able to take away something from this and learn something new and maybe just pass this this show on to someone who may need it. So, thank you again, Gabby.
You're
Woo!
very welcome.
Take
I want to thank you for tuning in to Afterlife Cafe TV, connecting hearts, healing souls, and bridging worlds. I'm Helen Peacock, and I am so grateful, yes, it makes my heart sing, that you chose to spend this time here with me. So, to continue the connection, I do invite you to tune in to the Transformation Talk Radio every Tuesday at 11 a.m. for new episodes. And you can also visit my website at helenpeacock.ca to find out more about my sessions, group readings, yes, even Zoom group readings, and perhaps some events I may be holding. And also, there will be a course on your psychic development, mediumship development, if you're interested in that. And just know that there are more ways to gather in our Sacred Grounds community, where you can also, again, find me at helenpeacock.ca. So, if this episode touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. It does help the space reach others who may need it too. So, until next time, trust the signs, stay curious, and remember, love never ends. It's just different.